welcome to Find It on this Wednesday evening. I have such a special guest. I'm so excited about her. Her name is Victoria Summer Whetzel, and she is a person who puts model in role model. I can't wait for her to give you her story. And she lived in NC and moved her little hind end to NYC right after graduation to follow her dream. I'm so excited. So hang tight. We're going to show her video and she will be right back with us. Oh my gosh. I get so emotional. Like, that is so amazing.
I'm emotional too, actually.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, you guys get ready for the show. We're going to have two little girls crying up in here.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Victoria, it's so great to meet you through one of my dearest friends, Amy Whetzel, Amy Goldbach Whetzel. We went to school together, and she and you are cousins by marriage. And I was just so grateful that she reached out to me and talked to me about you and who you are. So let's just start right with it. Your journey from graduation in North Carolina. What was your thought process on that? And that had to have been scary. Give it to us.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel really proud to be here. Just your mission is so inspiring, and I love it's in alignment with mine as well. So I just feel really grateful to be here to share my story. So I grew up in North Carolina, the boonies, kind of the middle of nowhere. I started out in pageants. My parents put me in pageants when I was a kid. So I was doing pageants and dancing, and I was always really creative. I loved American Idol, and I remember when Kelly Clarkson was on, I was obsessed with her. And at commercial breaks, I would make my parents like announce me down the hallway, and then I would sing for them. Like, I always loved being creative and singing and dancing. And so really early on was dancing, and then I got into theater and was performing at my community theater, doing like 5 shows a year. And theater was just always what was on my mind. And I always wanted to move to New York City. I saw it in the movies, and I was like, okay, well, theater is what's going to get me to New York City. So I was so focused on that pretty much my whole life. I was a cheerleader and played sports and softball and did a lot of other things as well. But I was like, theater or nothing. And so really serious about it. Growing up in middle school, high school, doing community theater. And then I went to school at Catawba College, and I started out majoring in musical theater. And then I switched to business, and then I switched back to theater. And then I graduated with a degree in communications. And during my time there, I had chatted a little bit with the dean of business, who had a connection here in New York City at CBS. And so they have a page program, and he told me, he's like, you know what, you should apply. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll apply after graduation, because I still wanted to perform, but I'll get into this a little bit later probably too. But for whatever reason, like, I thought that I had to move. If I wanted to move to New York City, I was going to move there, and I could not fail. And so CBS felt really safe to me.
Yeah.
It was one of those decisions where I was like, okay, well, if I get this like glamorous, fancy corporate job where I'm working with celebrities, like, there's no way I'll fail. I'll pay all my bills on time. I'll be rich, all these things, which like that was not the case. And so I was in interviews for CBS my last semester in college. I flew up to New York to interview and back, and hadn't heard anything. And so I was just kind of browsing for jobs that would get me to New York before I even heard back from CBS. And so I found a random teaching artist job at a summer camp in Westchester, White Plains, north of the city. And I applied online and did an interview, and they hired me. So I was like,
Great, that's close enough.
Right. I was like, sure, I'll be a teacher for the first time. And so I was a teaching artist at a summer camp, teaching dance for kids ranging from like 3 years old to 12. I taught probably 8 dance classes a day, and it was amazing. It was, dealing with children. I'd never done that before, but it was a great learning opportunity. And so that's what I was going to get me here. So it's crazy, because when I was flying, 2 weeks after graduation, I packed up my bags, and I was standing like at the gate waiting to board my plane. And I still had not heard back from CBS, but I was flying to do this other job.
Yeah.
I was getting on the plane and my email said ding. And it was like, hey, Victoria, I want you to come back for a final interview for CBS. As I was getting on the plane, and I was like, okay, meant to be, whatever, like it's going to happen. And so taught for 8 weeks. And then after that, I started at CBS and I was a CBS page.
Wow.
So it's like so crazy. And I really didn't have, not that I didn't have interest in working in TV. I just was always like, I'm going to be a performer. That's all that there is for me to do. And so I started out as a page and I was doing a ton of different jobs at the broadcast center. I was working audience for different shows. And then I landed a permanent gig on CBS This Morning. So
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, thank you. It was so random. I was just like, sure, they needed somebody to fill in. I was like, yeah, sure, I can do it. And so I was in charge of managing talent on the show. So every time a celebrity came to be on CBS This Morning, I would organize their car. I would they hit their T's and hit times. I would take them to hair and makeup. It was very like Devil Wears Prada kind of.
Oh yeah, I just was thinking about that. I was
like not in a negative way.
Yeah,
but
you had a good experience of it. Yeah,
totally.
wow.
And running
But
around.
you met so many people that way too.
Totally. I got to meet so many different celebrities. And I mean, it was hard. I had to be there at like 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m. And I was 22. All my friends were going out. The friends I had, I literally moved here with no money, very few connections, and like no plan hardly. So just like a loose plan. And so they were all going out and I was taking the train at like 3:30 a.m. every morning. I was living in Harlem. So it was like a 40-minute train ride. And that was before the pandemic. And I was young. I didn't really think that much about it, but it definitely got to a point where I realized, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. Like I could at least get a car. Like CBS has money, like they can
help me out. Give me some transportation.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. For me, it's like there's a lot of people who have dreams and say, I want to do this, but then they, out of fear maybe or something, they don't just go do it. And for you to pack your bags and say, no, at least you had the forethought to try to get, a job before you moved there. But still, that's a huge testament to who you are as a person. So after then you were doing the CBS page and all of that. How did you transition into modeling? Are we ready for that part yet, or am I getting ahead of myself?
Yeah, so we're like on our way. We're making the journey towards it. So yeah, doing with the page stuff, and then I left that job and I went to Cast Reality Television. I saw a Facebook post. They needed a casting assistant for TLC and some major cable network shows. So I went in for an interview and I got the job, and I did casting for a while, and then I was a talent manager for reality stars for a little bit. But at this whole time I was also dog walking. I was working at a cycling studio. Like I was doing hourly jobs to
you even bartended, didn't you?
I am doing that still now, but
you are
days. Yeah, my earlier days, I should have done that. If I would do it again, I definitely, when I had all the energy at 22 and I could I probably would have done. But yeah, so I was like working several jobs because I wasn't able to afford living here just on my, full-time job. And so I did casting and then talent management. And then when I was done with that, I randomly applied for a tech job. I was looking to just switch it up. And so I went on Indeed and I typed something into the search bar about bringing people together. Like I was just kind of typing in my, values and missions, and this tech job for event technology popped up, and I got a sales job in technology, which was like the most random thing. Like I did not know the product. I just had a personality and would call, sing to my prospects and like just do creative stuff to avoid cold calling anyone, because that was like the bane of my existence. And so did that. And then in 2020, I was furloughed from that job, and I was, unemployed at that time. I didn't leave my apartment for weeks, and I just started submitting to modeling agencies. Like I was kind of freelancing as a model throughout those other jobs, but people were saying, you should model. And I'm like, okay. So I started submitting, and then I got signed during the pandemic, which is crazy. So I was like doing that, but obviously things were not back to normal for like 2 years here. And so
Yeah.
I got, like another tech job, and then I was working in 2 restaurants at the same time while I was doing the tech job, and I had 5
Wow.
jobs this time last year. Um, which is just like a hustle and a grind. Like there's been times in my journey here where I had 5 cents to my name. Like it's just such a hard place
Mm-hmm.
to live, but I don't regret it. You know, it's what
One thing, let's just say this. One thing that we know for sure after
Mhm.
just talking to you for a few minutes is
Mhm.
girlfriend's resourceful. You can do tech to paging for CBS to what?
Thank you.
That's kind of inspiring in itself just to say, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to do something new and I can. That's
Oh,
amazing. And I saw Amy Whetzel is watching. Hi,
yay!
and beautiful girl. You're awesome, V. Yeah,
Um,
I just learned that, Amy, that some people in New York call her V Summer. V Summer, V Summer.
be
That's
summer.
kind of cool. V Summer, V Summer. That's awesome. So wow. So currently, how many jobs do you have?
So I modeling picked up when I this time last year, I quit some of those other jobs, and then I was just full-time modeling, but then everything slowed down again. And so I work Sundays, a shift at a restaurant, and then I panicked recently because my savings was dwindling. And so
Mm.
I went to an open call for a new bartending job, and they hired me on the spot. So I'm actually starting that on Friday.
Oh my gosh, that is not an easy job.
Mm-mm.
I mean, and even know, and, you're dealing with intoxicated people most generally. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Make her sing. Oh, if you don't mind, I'll totally love to shoot me some tunes. I mean, come on, we're on live right now. If you feel like it, like
I
if you feel
know.
the urge to sing to me something, I would love to hear it.
What do you wanna
Um,
hear?
oh well, let's see. What's something that just popped in your head when I said sing? What's
Um,
something that just kind of like that you sing when you're walking through your apartment getting ready?
yeah, so Piano Man has been in my head.
Oh, let's do it. That's a hard. Those Elton John. Those are hard.
Let me pull up to make sure I actually sing the right lyrics really quick. I'll just do the, like, little chorus there.
I
Piano
always make up my own words. That just made me giggle. Anybody that knows me. Remember the song, Ain't well, you may not know it because you're so but Ain't Even Done with the Night? Ain't even done with the night or something like that. I said $81 a night. That's what I used
Oh,
to sing. My friends were like, "What are you saying?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just
yeah.
making up stuff just so I know the tune."
Yeah, it's
Bob Whetzel, I am proud of you.
um,
Victoria, you're an inspiration to many. Keep smiling.
I
Thank
love
you, Bob.
you so
Hi, oh, John Horton, share.
I don't know, there's, like, requests. Well, Uncle Bob loves when I sing as well, so let me just sing this chorus really quick, and then we'll move on, okay?
Fun. I love it. I'm into it.
Yeah. Sing us a song, you're the piano man. Sing us a song tonight. Well, we're all in the mood for a melody, and you got us feeling all right.
Oh my gosh, I've got goosebumps.
Aw, thank you.
You
Very
know,
I'm shaking.
that's not an easy yeah, that is not an easy song to sing. You have a nice, like, vibrata, natural vibrata in your voice. Yeah, Julie, holy shit.
Thank you.
Julie has a great voice too. Julie, oh my word, yes. You always make up lyrics. Love that. She knows me. That's my girl.
Aw, that's
I
so
just I
sweet.
have the tune. I just not always sure what the so we got a bond there. We
Yeah,
make up our own words sometimes.
I love that.
So okay, great. You can sing, you can dance. You've taught kids how to dance. That was one of your side hustles when you moved to NYC. So what else? Give us some more. Well, here's the other thing. One of the biggest and most impressive things to me is your mission in life to be a role model.
Mhm.
Explain to me what being a role model means to you.
Sure. So I think, especially in today's world, we feel like we have to be famous on Instagram or have tons of followers in order to influence people or, be a role model. But I do think that every day we have the opportunity to influence and impact people, like whether that's just walking down to the bodega, and I literally went right before and got a coffee, and saying hi to the cashier, asking people their names, smiling at people, actually
Wow.
looking up and seeing people. And I think just making people feel seen, especially children. Like even on the subway sometimes, I'll make eye contact with a little girl. Recently there was a girl and her mom, I guess, or caretaker sitting like sitting next to her on the subway, and she had these like really cool sneakers on, and we were sitting next to each other, and she was kind of like looking up at me, and we were just smiling at each other, and my stop was up next, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to compliment her on her sneakers, and because that means so much to young women. I remember when I was a kid, like I have very vivid memories of women role models, or like even my mom, like things that her and like also my dad like taught me, like they were role models and are role models to me. And it's like you just never know who is looking at you and who's paying attention and who you're saving even. Like there's some people who are struggling to wake up in the mornings, and like if you just smile at them a little longer, you carry on a little conversation in the lines at Trader Joe's, like you just never know the impact that you're going to have on people. And so like I don't have a million followers on Instagram or TikTok or anything like that, but it's like if someone reads my post or hears my story and they feel inspired just to take that next step, to take a huge risk in their life, to quit their job that they hate and go find something that they love to do. Like that's what I really care about. And that's what being a role model means to me.
My gosh. I don't know. Don't zoom in on me. You have me emotional because yes, it is about the small stuff that people forget about. It's like you said, the smile, the compliment, a genuine compliment. You like the little girl's sneakers, you're going to tell her. I mean, why not? You're a beautiful person. I know now, Amy, thank you for introducing me. I want to stay in touch with you, Victoria. You're like a bright light. It's impressive. And then, yes, so in that, and you're very humble because on a grander scale of being a role model, you are a model and you are leading an example for young women all over the world of appreciating your body type, your shape. Not everyone looks the same, and it would be a boring world if we did. And so what are your views about body image in general?
Sure. So I've always been in a curvier body, like since I can remember. I remember, being the tallest and the curviest cheerleader. And I have always liked my look and my shape. Like obviously I've struggled with body image, but for the most part, I do think maybe it was my mom who instilled this in me, but like that confidence when it comes to body image, like this is the body you're given and you're healthy, like you should be grateful for that. And obviously I've struggled with my weight. Like I can look back at journal entries where I was really trying to like limit myself and trying to be skinny and like whatever. And I have a couple memories of girls like being kind of catty, being like, well, she's too big to be a cheerleader, things like that. Okay. Like it never phased me. And I would say like that was never an insecurity that I really had. Obviously I get insecure. I would say that I've struggled a lot more with who I am like internally and like that internal confidence. Like I'm very calculated. Even leading up to this interview, the whole day today, I was like, Victoria, like just be yourself. You don't have to step into a persona. You can just share your story and be yourself. And I'm very, very calculated. Like when I go out and like have drinks with friends, I'm like, oh my God, did I say the wrong thing? Am I drinking too much? Am I being too wild? Like we all love to go out. We all make mistakes. We all, act out. But like we're young. Like I'm young.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Years, to learn and to grow and to heal. And I think, but that's something that I've struggled with the most is really like believing that, I deserve the things that come into my life and that I am a good person and I'm trying to be a good person. And so that's what I've struggled with the most in terms of confidence is like, am I a good person? Do people like me? Am I a people pleaser? That type of thing, which is like very crippling to me sometimes in groups of people. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I being too much? Am I too loud? Like, do I sound smart? I'm very, very in my head about those things. And I'm trying, it's gotten a little bit better, but I'm really trying to work on that as the year.
I feel like there's a couple of things I want to say about what you just said. And one of the things is, if there are people that you're in your circle that you're concerned if they're judging you, but they're probably not the right people. And that's just me knowing that, you get your people and they'll laugh with you. They're not judging you. And as far as you being so self-aware to constantly be checking in internally, like, oh, that's actually a good thing. It's just putting it all in balance, right?
Mhm.
So it's and it also goes to show that you have a ton of layers. I asked you about body image and you skipped right into the good stuff, which is internal, which is
Mhm.
you can have the most beautiful figure, the beautiful clothes, great hair, the best makeup. But if you don't love yourself on the inside and you're not confident, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You're never going to think you're good enough.
Mhm.
And so that's just your personality is so endearing and so amazing because you're so genuine and real. I mean, even judging yourself, like, am I doing this and who am I and all the internal things that
Mhm.
is so important. So really your message is really dig down inside and love who you are and however you're shaped or however whatever color your hair is, all of that stuff, it falls in line and everything, everything's okay. And it's better than okay. It's great,
Right.
to have this body this meat suit we've been given.
No,
So I
yeah.
love that. But you are in, I mean, like, look at this picture, you guys. This is her in good American. Um, and look how good you look. And knowing what you have on the inside after just talking to you for a short time makes you even more attractive. And you had told me you were trying out to be a good American model and that didn't work out for you, right?
Right. So they had an open call recently that as I've been signed with agencies for 3 years now, which is great, like 3 years ago this month, which is so crazy to
Oh,
me.
wow.
But they had an open casting where it was also a casting for them, but also for another agency. And I waited in line for I think 6 hours to be seen.
Mm.
And it was a great experience. Everyone was so kind. I met so many other models in the line and we were chatting. It was winter. We were all shivering and taking breaks to go into Starbucks to warm up. And it's just like, that's just how the nature of the city. I feel like I'm always waiting in lines in the cold, like trying to achieve my dreams. Like nothing's
Yeah.
like easy. Like everything is like a struggle, but it is so rewarding. And so I met
No.
with them, never heard anything back. And then recently there was another open call for another big agency and I went to the open call and I stood in line again for several hours. And when I first got there, the line was pretty short and I knew it was going to be a long day. And so I was like, you know what, let me walk, grab a coffee. And I had a book with me. I was like, let me just grab a coffee and come back into line. By the time I got a coffee and came back, which it was literally 5 minutes away, the line was down the block and
Oh,
around the
cute.
corner. So I'm chatting with the girls, whatever, it's a couple hours, we're standing in line. I get up to the door and they cut off the casting 5 people in front of me. And I like could not I beat myself up so much because I was like, well, if I wouldn't have gotten that coffee, then, I would have been like seen and like maybe I'd be with this agency and, yada, yada, yada. And so there's just so many moments like that in my life where once I take a step back and look at the bigger picture, I'm like, oh my gosh, timing is everything. And so there's been a lot of moments. Recently, I got booked to go to the Dominican Republic to shoot for one of the resorts there. And my passport has been expired for a while and I kind of let the ball drop on that. Like it's something that I'm pretty open with, like, my mental health, like we all struggle with
Sure.
mental health and like tedious tasks sometimes are just not my forte. And I struggle with that, just trying to like manage my life and my mental health in the city. And so it was one of those things where I'm like, I'm not traveling, but then I got the job and I
Mm.
didn't have a passport. And so I expedited it and it arrived like 3 days before when the shoot would have been. And I was like beating myself up again, but then I was like, okay, timing, like there's got to be something else. And so I know y'all see the banner at the bottom of the screen, like stay tuned for an exclusive announcement. The week that I was supposed to be in Punta Cana, sorry, I'm about to cry.
All right. Okay. This is amazing. So this is the announcement. Who knows this? Is this the first time you've publicly talked about this?
Publicly, yes. Like my parents know and like a couple other people know. But it's just kind of been in conversation. If someone's like, how are you? What's new? And I've just kind of dropped the bomb on them that way. But I really I've had this for like 2 weeks and wanted to wait to share it with this community because I know that everyone here supports your mission, supports me, loves me. And so I will want to share with y'all first, and then I'll probably post on Instagram tomorrow or something. But I really want everyone to be The first to know. So the week I was supposed to be in Punta Cana, sorry, I'm like getting so emotional. I actually got signed by Ford Models.
Woo!
Yes. I like it. This feels like such a weight off my chest because I haven't told anyone. Actually I have my contract right here. Um,
Aw,
so, ew,
that's amazing.
yeah,
This is our look, the wizard from behind even came up. Oh my gosh,
thank
Victoria,
you.
this is huge.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
It just like doesn't, it doesn't feel real. Like I it's the biggest agency worldwide, and if I would have, not gotten that coffee that day and been in line, and maybe I would have gotten seen and picked up by that other agency, or if I would have gone to Punta Cana, maybe they would have, not decided to sign with me. But like this is where like Brooke Shields and Christy Brinkley got their start, and it's just
Oh
like,
my gosh.
so I'm shaking. It's like so iconic.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I just feel like really grateful, and I just want everyone to know like that was not my plan. Like I wanted to move to New York City to do theater, and then I did all these other random things, but it's like this moment was waiting for me the entire time. And I think it's just important to trust that everything that's happening in your life, like where your feet are is where you're supposed to be. And so I just wanted everyone that's
Oh
watching to
my gosh, I thought we were gonna be talking about, like, body image and stuff, and now really the focus of this is understanding that where your feet are planted are exactly where you need to be, and that's so difficult in life sometimes to let it go and let it flow and accept. But you're right, all of the things that led up to this, Victoria. Be summer, be summer, be summer.
some Ford
Oh
model.
my gosh, Ford model, Ford model, Ford model. Oh my gosh. You
Mhm.
guys, this is huge. So what
Thank
are your next steps? I mean, you've got your contract, you showed us that. What are I mean, you're just now in the agency and as they'll book you for all kinds of different
you.
things, right?
Yeah, so I am updating my imagery right now. I did a shoot last week, just to do like some more natural images with less makeup on, just so they can build my book, and then I'll be on the website. Probably I don't know what the timeline is for that, but I'll be on the website, and then they'll just submit me to jobs. And the goal by the end of the year is to be placed in multiple markets. I just spent a couple days in LA a few weeks ago, and like could totally see myself working there, not living full time, but by the end of this year, I'm telling all of y'all so you hear it. I'm announcing my dreams.
Good. We're manifesting those.
Yes, I would love to be bi-coastal and be placed with an LA agency as well, and go back and forth.
Bi-coastal, baby. That's
Yeah,
what's gonna happen.
yeah.
And you know what? What we've learned from what you've said today is if that doesn't, there's something better and even
Mhm,
greater waiting for you.
mhm,
Understanding that
mhm,
life gives us some stuff sometimes, and sometimes we don't love it. When you went and got that coffee and then you got cut off 5 people ahead, you're like, "What?" Now
mhm.
you're a Ford model,
Yes, I'm so
Ford agency. This is so great. Oh my gosh. Well, gosh.
excited.
So now that we're, a little ways into this, I wanna
Mhm,
ask you, in your life, I don't
mhm,
know if this is even a good place to put it yet because of all the things that you've learned in your young years,
mhm.
um, what have you found most in your life that you can share with us to help inspire us to find it too?
Sure. I think the biggest thing is just being true to yourself.
Mhm.
When I first moved here, like I come from a blue collar family, like, who would do I'm like gonna cry again. Who would do anything to like make sure that I had everything I needed. And like you don't have to come from like money, you don't have to have all these connections. Like you really can build the life that you want for yourself. Um, and so even when I was at CBS, I would just introduce myself to people in elevators, and that was just part of my personality. And so, like, the other girls were like, what's she doing?" I'm like, "Hey, what do you do here? Like, what's your role?" And I would look at their name tags, and then I would, find their email, and I would be like, "Great meeting you." You know?
That's awesome.
It's like staying connected and just, like, being yourself. And I think also just really prioritizing human connection and relationships, which has probably been, the biggest struggle I would say since moving away, is like I miss out on everything back home, like so many birthdays and events. And like I have a lot of just guilt about that. But then also, my family, they miss out on my day to day and things
Mhm.
that are, going on in my life. And there's this song, Lauren Elena. She's like one of my favorite country
Sing
stars.
it.
I don't know. I just have the lyric. I just have the lyric. But the song is about how she moved away and to follow her dreams to be a country star. And the song's called Three. And the lyric is 6 years of missing home for 3 minutes on the radio. And how she would like do it all again. And like that's kind of how I feel. And it's like when things like this happen, I know that I'm meant to be here. And there's like I needed New York City, but I do genuinely feel like New York needed me in
Oh,
too. And I think just really showing up and being your authentic self and try just doing your best. Like not
mhm.
I am really hard on myself. I'm saying like don't be
Uh-huh.
hard on yourself, but just like trying to be a good person, trying to really look at people in the eyes and see them and just like do your best. And when you're struggling, I struggle so much, where I go through these moods,
Mhm.
I've struggled with anxiety and like depression and things like that. And it's like just being transparent and like
Mm.
vulnerable with people like, hey, I know I haven't talked to you in a while, but like I've been really going through it. Like, but I love you so much. And just telling people you love them because our days are numbered. And I just think you should take as many risks as you can. Show up, go take yourself to dinner, be authentic, talk to
Mhm.
strangers in a safe way. But I think that's like greatest advice is just like we are finding our fabulous, but we're also as we're on this road, like we are so fabulous just the way we are, just because we were born. And so
I
I don't miss
love the way you said that, and when I saw what you had written on your Instagram account about being on the show, I was like, "This girl gets it." Like,
Mhm.
at a very young age, you get it. It's just, um you're part of my heart now. I'm telling you, like this is so good. I feel like a proud parent of you right now. I'm so excited about your new adventure and all the opportunities that you have and will continue to be given. And we need more people in the world like this, also being transparent and admitting, like, yeah, you're a model. And some people from the outside seeing these beautiful pictures like this right here. I mean, people like, really? This is what people will see, and then they don't understand that you have your own struggles and you've worked your tail end off 5 jobs sometimes at one time to get and moved away from home and fought the fear and did all these things. And sometimes you do have down days and sometimes you do struggle with anxiety, and you being open and honest enough to talk about it helps people.
Mhm. Thank
It
you.
really does. And I want you to tell me about what your background is. What's going on behind you? Like stuff hanging on the wall and everything.
So I like keep everything that people give me. So if someone gives me a card or sends me a picture or an invitation, like even though I can't always be at every baby shower, every wedding, like I hang up everything. I have a picture like, of my dad. Oh, sorry, it's backwards. My dad right there. This is from my birthday. It's like pictures of me and my friends after a million margaritas. Like there's just so many like brands that have sent me really thoughtful thank you notes, flowers from different occasions that dried out, different pamphlets and programs. And I actually on this wall over here, skirt. This is getting me
It
this
is,
back.
it's backwards. I know it's difficult.
I went to there's that mannequin on you might be able to see it.
Yeah.
I went to this symposium back in I was thinking about this a lot today in 2018 and it was at FIT and I had a shift and just knew that this model named Iskra Lawrence, you guys might know who that is. She's amazing. She's from the UK, but she's like pretty famous in New York and abroad and stuff. But she was speaking and I went to this symposium all about body positivity, and she was the one of the keynote speakers, and she was signed with one agency at the time. And that's like really when I took down a lot of notes for the first time about like how to become a model. And she was so sweet, and I still follow her on Instagram to this day. And just like the most full circle moment ever, my picture is like weeks away from being with hers because she's a Ford model now in New York. So it's just so amazing. Like all these people I put on pedestals and like, who I admire and looked up to. It's like, you can be that too. Like, you don't always have to just put people on pedestals. You have to believe that actually you can be the one that people are reaching out to on Instagram and wanting your autograph. And you just never know. Like one day you might just wake up and they're like, oh, we're going to put you on this billboard. You never know what can happen in your life. You just have to be ready for it and be like, okay, sure. But it was just like a full circle moment that I realized today, which was just awesome.
You know what? I want to say this, and then I'm going to say what I want to say. Bob Donnell just popped in. He's out in LA. Thank you for being who you are and for helping others. Thank you, Bob, for being here. I want to say this too about what you just talked about putting people on pedestals and whatever, and how you took notes with the model. What's her name? Isla.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about you, though, is, and this is a lesson to all of us, is that while you were looking at these other people who have kind of like made it beyond where you were at that time, you liked them, you admired them, you weren't feeling feelings of animosity because they're doing something you would like to do and they've already made it. There's a big difference there, because I feel like if you allow your heart to love people and to admire people and be happy for them, good things come back to you.
1,000%.
I really believe you get what you give. And I'm telling you, the sky's the limit for you. With a heart as big as yours, the good things will continue to come to you, Victoria. I'm so proud of you for who you are. This is big news up at Find It. She found it.
Totally. No, I love that I could just get that off my chest too and just share it with people who are here because they love us and they love your mission. And I just think that that's important because in today's society, it's like so showy. It's always like, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And like, I didn't want this to be that because to me, it's just so much bigger than just being with an agency. Like it's just getting better. And I think back to what you were kind of saying about, like not being jealous of, obviously like you compare yourself. Like I compare myself
all the time. Like human nature.
Right. It's just like
but you got to kind of bring that back into, you can't like obsess about that. Right. And you've learned,
And I think it's the, if she can do it, so can I mentality. If he can do it, so can I. That is the mentality that you have to have. And you're like, okay, well, if they're following their dreams, well, I guess I can too. And like, you really can. And obviously like we all come from different walks of life and we all have different backgrounds. And like, I don't have, kids. There's nothing, I'm not married, like anything like that. So I'm not really like tied down. If I wanted to move to LA tomorrow, I could. And so I just think it's like also accepting that lifestyle. And also I've had to make a lot of sacrifices, like my dating and my friendships, like they have suffered because I've been hustling towards the dream.
Yeah, you have.
But still, like we're just meant to be like where we are right now, and you just really have to have faith and in yourself too, but also in something greater, and know that you're meant for more if you want it.
Yeah, and the fact that you knew from a young age, kind of like at least where you were, what you found joy in, what like your passion, what lit you up, and then you went for it and you put the work in and all of that. And when people see you, you can inspire them to find their path, because what the path you're on isn't mine. The path you're on isn't Amy's, but we all have to find it, what brings us joy, and maybe what we're actually naturally good at too, and then go for it, live it. And you're doing that, and that's such an amazing inspiration at such a young age for you to be so self-aware. And it's like you're an old soul. That's what I get from you. Like you get things that 28-year-olds don't. And also I wanted to say, when you're talking about the country song you liked, 6 years for 3 minutes. Haven't you been in NYC for 6 years? I bet that song like gave you goosies. Like, oh my gosh,
I cry every time.
I bet. Okay, well, I got to tell you guys, let's tell everybody. I know there were a lot of comments coming up on the board, And I don't know if there's any questions, Lynn, producer Lynn in the back, if you've seen any that anyone has a question for her. But I want to tell everybody how much I greatly appreciate you being here live. And if you want, share this out. Let's spread the good news and positivity that she brings. And thanks for being here, because Victoria and I both really appreciate it. And it's coming from a great place on both sides. So thank you for that. And before we wrap up, Victoria, is there anything else? I mean, you've dropped the bomb, a good one on us, but is there anything else that you would like to add before we go? Maybe we can have you back at a later date and you can update us too on what all else you got going on.
I would love that. I mean, I just want to thank you for having me. I actually feel like we'd be friends, like besties.
Yeah. I know. You know what is making me laugh, Victoria, when you're talking about talking to people in the elevator and stuff? I make my daughter, who is also a Victoria, I make her so uncomfortable because she is not one to talk to someone on the elevator, walking down the hallway, anything like that. And I'll get in the elevator, I'll be walking, and if I like someone's shirt or whatever, like you were saying, I'll be like, oh my God, that's so cute. Where'd you get that? I was like, I don't know you. You make me uncomfortable. I said, no, I think I make you uncomfortable. I was like, oh my gosh, you and I'd be on the elevator full on having a conversation with people that are probably like, hi.
I love it. But it's being true to you. That's amazing. You know?
Yeah, I don't know any other way. I mean, sometimes I might make people uncomfortable, and I'm so sorry for that, but I don't know any other way. Sean Benson says, Victoria, I am so proud of you. You are a mini Deb. You don't know a stranger. Yeah, you don't. It sounds like you don't know a stranger, even on the subway. Oh gosh, that's awesome. So yes, thank you for appreciating being on the show, but it's been my absolute pleasure. I feel so grateful to Amy for connecting us, and with a lot of love, I will allow you to go, but stay in the back so we can chat just a little bit more. I want to talk to you about a couple of things behind the scenes. And so with that, y'all, we have found it. We got a model in the house with a mission, and she is amazing. Share this out because this is really special. So have a great night, everybody, and see you next Wednesday, same time, different guest. Have a great night. Bye. That floats around me, keeping